Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. Let's get started with our hosts, Linda McKissack and Dana Gentry.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. I'm Linda McKissack.
And I'm Dana Gentry.
Hey, Dana. Was that not the most beautiful picture of those two doves this morning?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, first of all, happy anniversary.
Thank you very much.
We're going to talk about what it's like to be married, how to stay married for 44 years. But what I was going to say before we hit recording is it's crazy to me because Linda, truthfully, like I think you are 44. So to hear that you're married for 44 years, I'm like, wait, the math isn't mathing.
Now, there's a reason you're my really good friend, Dana. Well, I'm trying. I'm doing all the longevity stuff. Jimmy and I just did an assessment where they take your organs and they actually, well, they don't take your organs, but they test your organs.
Hold on.
They test your organs, and I think we were both way under ours, which is the most important parts, because I guess if the organs don't work, it doesn't matter if anything else looks good or not, right? So
how'd they do that? Yeah. Was it like a scan?
Yeah, I think it was like maybe a blood test or something. I don't know. We get so many tests. I don't know which one tests what. But you know, the beautiful message about that right now is if you can be in somewhat good health, there's so many great things coming down the pipeline that are not only going to, I don't know how much they'll extend your life because I don't think we're necessarily always in control of that either. We can control the quality of it, but I think you could really have great quality of life for a long, long time, as much as you can control.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's so funny, you know, this has nothing to do with marriage, but knock on wood, you know, Frankie, my baby, my firstborn, I mean, he's going to be 18 this year. And he's like a spry chicken. Like he just runs around. But when I mean, he walked almost 1 full mile when we were in Florida over New Year's because the weather was great. Normally I push him in his little stroller and he'll walk a minute, but then I stroll him because I like to go, you know, 3 or 4 miles. And I had Adam take a video of him and me walking, and I sent it to my friend who's his vet. Her name's Elizabeth. And I said, I just had to send you this. And she said, honestly, Dana, you take care of him like adults should take care of themselves, and like people should take, you know, because he has like grass fed ground.
Chiropractor.
Oh yeah, he has a cat. He gets oh my gosh, why am I acupuncture. He gets acupuncture. I mean, you know, all the things. But it's funny because it reminded me, I mean, we're the same way. Like we just, if you really take care of yourselves and, you know, outside of like something crazy happening, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's
well,
crazy.
And honestly, kind of, I think taking care of yourself is kind of an obligation to your partner, right?
Yeah.
Because who does the buck fall on?
Yeah.
If one doesn't take care of themselves in, you know, and you're truly committed in sickness and in health, that means it's going to affect you also, right?
Yeah, totally. So, well, before we talk about all the lessons that you're going to share with us and the wisdom of being married for 44 years, I have 2 important, non-important things to tell you. Number 1, I got my eyebrows laminated for the first time. Where have I been for 42 years? Like, I don't even have to put eyebrow gel on them or anything. They just stay up like this now.
That's awesome. There's another thing that I can't remember. I paid for Betty to do, and I did it too. Gosh, I can't remember. I'll have to think about what it is and tell you in Austin this week. Yeah. But it's like the best thing we've ever done. I think it just keeps your shape, but I can't remember exactly.
Was it not laminating? Because that's what this does.
I don't think it's called laminating it. Oh,
was it micron? Was it? I mean, needling or something?
No, there's this one thing they do where they do kind of cut the slats in it, and this is before that. This would be something you'd want to do before that because that's kind of
okay. Yeah, no, she just dyed mine and then like put this stuff on them that kind of smelled like a perm, and then this piece of tape, and then this piece of tape over it for like 15 minutes, and then she took that off, brushed them up, and then she did that again for like 15 or 20 minutes. And she said it would last like 8 weeks because, you know, I have to like pencil mine in every morning and then put eyebrow gel on to get them to go up. And I was like, I don't have time for this.
Well, the reason I can't think of the name, Dana, is because I didn't have on our list to talk about our eyebrows today. So I'm very unprepared for this eyebrow conversation.
Well, I was like looking at mine this morning. I was like, oh, I can't forget to tell Linda that. And then the second thing was me and you have not even talked about my car getting stolen.
No, what?
Wait, did you know about that?
No, not at all. I
Oh
don't look
my
at
gosh.
social media.
Okay, well, this story is way too long. I did like this whole thing on my Instagram about it. But then I was like, oh my gosh, I bet I didn't even tell Linda this yet. But the reason why it made me think about it is because I was excited you and I are going to see each other in Austin this week. Well, my flight is at 5:30 tomorrow, but I have to get up. Heather had to make me an appointment at the Social Security office at 9, the DMV at 11:15 because they stole everything. So I haven't had an ID. I had to get all new credit cards. My passport card was in there, like everything. I still don't have my car back, but and so in the morning I'm like, I gotta go knock all this stuff out so I can get on a plane at 5 o'clock to get to Austin, which is why I'm not getting there until late tomorrow night because I don't even have an ID to get on the plane right now.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So first of all, I can't remember what kind of card you have. Was it an Escalade or what was it?
Yeah, I had the Escalade, and so we went to Christmas in Charlotte to be with Chris and Caitlin and the boys like 3 days before Christmas, and it was my fault because I left the car unlocked with my key in it and my purse and stuff. However, I mean, I do that a lot at home. Like I just don't even think about it.
I'm sure. Was
And
it at his house?
yes, and I mean, they live in a really very very nice country club neighborhood in Ballantyne, and so I just never in a million years. But sure enough, at like 6:45, Chris came in the room. Adam and I were sleeping in, and he's like, "Guys," and I'm like, "Is everything okay?" And he's like, "Are you still here?" I'm like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Your car's gone." I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "I think your car got stolen." I'm like, "No way." So then he looks on the Ring camera, and sure enough, like you saw a car pull up, a guy jumped out, jumped in. So, two things for our listeners. Number one, the police, while he was, very nice, he said, "I'm gonna be honest, 9 times out of 10, we don't locate the vehicles." And I'm like, "You have got to be kidding me."
Even with like Starlink, I mean, all the GPS things.
Okay, so that's exactly what I'm getting ready to go to next. So then he said, "You can check if you have OnStar." I'm like, "Perfect, I have OnStar. I pay for OnStar." So I call OnStar while no, yes, they disabled it. So she said, she's like searching, and then she's like, "Ma'am, I'm sorry, we can't locate the vehicle." And I'm like, "Okay, this is crazy because I travel with my dogs, and if I even leave my dogs in the car to run into a gas station to pee, y'all are calling me saying I've left somebody in the vehicle." So I'm like, "How can you not locate the vehicle?" And she's like, "We have no connection to it." And I'm like, "What?" So then about 2 hours after that, I happened to think, well, I have a Cadillac app, but I've never used it before.
Yeah.
But I remember that I had it. So I opened the Cadillac app and it said last known location 3 hours ago. And it was a location in Charlotte, like 45 minutes north of their house. So I went back to the police officer. The police officer is actually still in the neighborhood. So I went back out, found the cop again. He came back in and I'm like, I found on my app, here's where it says that it was at, 3 hours ago or whatever. So he sends a police car there. And sure enough, it was there. It was in an apartment building complex, but
So they got it back.
They got it back, but they totally trashed it. So they ripped off the antenna, which deactivated the OnStar. They completely pulled out all the electrical. So like they disenabled the control panel. The battery was drained.
How did they do that?
I think he said to likely just like wait, make sure it doesn't get found for a couple of days, and then they sell it for parts.
That's nuts.
Yeah, it was wild. So I had to have it
say that because when we were in Montana this over Christmas, we for some reason Jimmy's car locked with the key in it.
Oh, dang, yeah.
And so
wait, he has an Escalade, doesn't he?
Well, he does, but we don't have that in Montana. We have a Chevy something.
Yeah,
I don't know. We should keep the same car in every city, to be honest with you. That's what we should do. But anyway, we don't have as an expensive one up there, but it's like a Suburban so that we can haul everybody.
Yeah.
But or I don't know what it is. Something. It's a Chevy. I asked Chat because how do we get into this? And so sure enough, Chat GPT told us to go on the app and you can unlock
it from the app.
I was going to tell you the app. It's going to get harder and harder for crooks, to be honest with you. And
well,
if you it sooner.
Yeah, but listen to this. This is what he said, because at first he's like, "Well, was your fob in the car?" And I'm like, "Yeah, my fob was in the car. Unfortunately, that's my bad." But he said, "Well, to be honest, don't beat yourself up about it." And he said, because they've gotten so good now that they can go to a vehicle, they have fobs, they can program the fob to that vehicle if they're within a certain number of feet from the vehicle. So he said that they just busted some guy like a couple days before this. The guy did. He said he was on the case that they pulled him over for like speeding or something else. But when they searched his vehicle, he had like 20 different fobs in there. And so they said they knew he was an auto theft. So they busted him for that. So anyway, all that to be said, I haven't had my car still. It's got moved to the body shop. I'm selling it. I feel like it has bad energy, so I'm getting a new car. But
do you get any like penalty from insurance or anything because you left the keys in there, or do
no,
they pay?
because thank God I had like the full whatever comprehensive coverage. I mean, she's like, you had the best that covered everything, because under all these people were messaging me on Instagram saying, if you left your key in the car, your insurance isn't covered. And I was like, what? So then finally, when I got with my girl at State Farm, she's like, no, you're good. Like, you just have to pay a $500 deductible. But she's like, you had everything, but they stole all kinds of stuff from inside the vehicle. But then my homeowner's insurance replaced all of that.
What about your like laptop and stuff like that?
No, thank God my and I travel with my Bible, and that was like the first thing I was like, oh my gosh. But like, luckily I had that inside, and I didn't bring my laptop because we were just going to be there for 2 days. But they stole just, like every credit card and all.
Oh my gosh. And that's all of a pain right there. Well, the good news is some of your subscriptions will.
That's exactly what I taught for Andy and Leslie Peters this past week in Greenville, South Carolina, to their 9 market centers, ALCs. And I was telling the story, and I was like, but the good news is that I've got to see all the things that I pay for now this year that I don't need to pay for anymore. Cause I'm like, Adam, we have like 20 TV subscriptions, like ESPN2, ESPN3. I'm like, how many ESPNs are there? I mean, there's like all these things. So yeah, it's been a good purge. But it's wild. But I will say, so for people listening, he did tell me, and this makes sense, that the 2 things that they look for when they're going to steal a vehicle are out-of-state tags, number 1, which I had. And then number 2, he said now that the newer vehicles, when your car is locked, your mirrors fold in. And so he said they look for vehicles that the mirrors are out, because that tells them that the car is unlocked.
Oh my gosh, that's so smart. God, those people are so smart. They could really make a good living if they put it to good use. That is so smart. I guess if that's your lane, you're going to learn all about it and study it.
Yeah, I know. It's so true. So anyway, crazy thing that came out of all that. But speaking of marriage, the positive is that tomorrow morning, I'm finally going to change my last name. So Adam is happy. He's like, I'm glad it took everything you own getting stolen for you to, because I have to go to the Social Security office now.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
I know, because I had just been putting it off. It's a pain. Oh my gosh.
That's funny. Oh my gosh, that is good. Well, and I was going to say, on the bright side, you might make it 44 years because y'all didn't get a divorce over all that.
So true. I know. Although I have been driving a rental car that all they had was a minivan, which is also a whole nother story. A whole nother story in itself. Although after driving it I had to turn it back in last night, and I told Adam, if I wasn't just like on the side of bougie, it's a nice ride. It was comfortable. And I mean, now I see why people with kids, like those doors, Frankie had the time of his life. He was all over that thing when we were driving back to Kentucky.
Well, Frankie would love our new purchase, our Sprinter van.
Yes, I can't wait to ride in it this week.
That's funny. Okay,
so
all right.
funny.
So, well, first of all, I want to start off by saying I sent Dana a picture this morning. There were 2 beautiful doves, which these doves come every year to our house, which makes me so happy because that means they feel like it's safe and peaceful and all that stuff, which is really a full-time job, but we try to keep it that way. But they come every year, and they were just happened today on our anniversary. I looked up, I always get my coffee in bed, and we were sitting there talking, and all of a sudden looked out my window, my doors on my patio, and there are these 2 beautiful doves sitting side by side, just fat and happy. And so I sent you that picture this morning. And
I loved it. It was so good. Well, I immediately went on my Chat GPT. I have like a Chat GPT, project that just says like Bible verses and learning. And I put in there, I was trying to go back and find it to read it. I put in there, here we go. I put in there like biblical symbolism of doves. You should do that. It's really kind of cool, Linda. I mean, it says like new beginnings, which for an anniversary is kind of cool. There's tons of stuff around love, beauty, and devotion that they mean from like Songs of Songs and I think it was Genesis actually, but it was really cool.
That's awesome. Yeah. Anyway, so I said that was a good God wink. So
yes,
that started us off today. So yeah, 44 years. It feels like, I mean, there were moments it felt like eternity, but most of the time, honestly, and that was mostly on the front end. I think when we're trying to iron things out, I think it's really difficult.
Yeah.
When you first start out, especially because you're young and you're immature. probably your faith isn't as strong and you're not
Yeah.
really trying to be as Christ-like in your marriage as you could. You haven't had a whole lot of training. I always say to people, I think the waiter we had last night, he had been married 20 years. And I'm like, just hang in there because it just gets sweeter and sweeter. Right. And I think it's as much because you work on yourself as much as the marriage matures. But yeah.
Do you think, okay, one question I had, because I just was at breakfast last week with a friend of mine in Charleston, and we were talking about marriage. Her and her husband, they lead a marriage kind of curriculum. Do you ever think that because you were married once before, Jimmy, that you kind of knew what you didn't want and you didn't want to go through that again? So like you were more intentional with the way that you all treat each other?
Yeah. Well, two questions. Did it affect how I chose the second time would be one question. And the second is, does it affect, how
you lit?
Things. So I would say I wish I was smart enough to say, yes, I was so meticulous the second time on how I picked, but that's not true. Which one of the things that I put down for anybody that knows a young person, start early to explain to them. I was listening to a short on YouTube the other day even, and it said the two main reasons people choose to get a divorce is the one tries to hold them back, the other one back. And number two, their values don't match.
Yeah.
And so I thought about that. And I thought about that with my first husband, and we almost the pastor literally told us, don't do it. We were so not the same, right? I mean, he was a great guy, not anything to do with that. He really was. But two things. One, it was the constant trying to hold me back. And I didn't understand who I was even at the time, but I knew I didn't like that.
Yeah.
And then the other was, even my pastor who we sat down with to try to talk before getting married said, I don't think this is a good idea, because he was just adamant that because his dad was a pastor or a deacon and then had an affair. So he had this very tainted view of Christianity and all that stuff. So I wish I had been smart enough after that to go, okay, maybe I should check for some things. But to be honest with you, this is what we should teach young people. What are your values that are just non-negotiables? And then how are you really going to test? Because you don't want to test when you're in love, because you're blinded by love at this point, right? And so watching for clues on that earlier, I think, would be important. I mean, I have a scenario right now of someone I know who's in a marriage that it looks like it's just a facade. Honestly, the person came in, they're nowhere near the person they came in as, and there's control issues. There's all these things. And I'm like, oh my gosh, our pastor talks all the time about a wolf in sheep's clothing. That's what this guy is. He's a wolf in sheep's clothing. And I asked her, I said, well, is he a Christian? And she said, well, he said he'd been baptized. Like, yeah, that don't mean anything, I mean, where's his heart? What does his heart tell you? And what does, who does he follow? And what does he read? And, all those things. And so it really made me think, man, it's never too early if you've got teenagers to start making them understand that values and certain things. I mean, I think some people can be married to opposites. I was married to an opposite in my first marriage, and it did not work well for me.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
I think it would have if he hadn't tried to hold me back. I always say to my kids, you can marry an opposite, just don't spend your rest of your life trying to change them to be like you. Yeah. And Jimmy and I are more alike, and I think that helps it work because his first wife was opposite also.
Right.
And so I think it does help to that degree. And I think as far as, yes, being a second marriage, it might, I don't know if that matters or not, but I think what matters is I want to make this one work more.
Totally. Yes.
The first one, I really realized pretty quick. I don't even want to put the effort in to make this work. It's just, I just couldn't see. And I think also at the time you got to figure out yourself.
Yeah.
I've always done tons of therapy. I even did therapy early in my marriage with Jimmy because I very quickly realized I have parents who are alcoholics. I very quickly realized Jimmy was pretty much an alcoholic too.
Yeah.
And what's funny is because you're in love, you don't see those things. Right. And then all of a sudden you start thinking, uh-oh, I got a problem here. And praise God, because only by the grace of God was he able to just stop drinking. He hasn't had a drink in 30 something years.
Yeah.
But it was rough. I mean, I really had, and every time I'd go to the therapist, she'd point the fingers right back at me, and say, you can't change him. You're going to have to decide what you're going to do. And I hated it because I wanted her to help me fix him.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of young marriages, especially, we spend all of our time trying to change them. And the only person that we can change is ourselves.
Yeah, totally. Have there been, I know you have lessons you want to share, but have there been like, what advice would you give to get through the bad patches or the rough spots,
Well, and remember, usually under anger is some kind of fear. So
Mm-hmm.
when you're angry, what are you really afraid of? I remember one of the toughest patches we had is when, when I realized that Jimmy had a problem with drinking, and I was back in this very same situation I thought I had moved on from.
Yeah.
So that was rough. And the second one came when we got $600,000 in debt, because money is one of the biggest issues. People don't make it because they just the financial just crushes them. And that was tough because I think when one person feels like they're carrying more of the load,
Yeah.
then that puts a lot of pressure on them. And and honestly, I was coming from fear because I'm like, I'd never made more than minimum wage. How in the world am I going to do this? So I think that those times are kind of probably some of the toughest. So you got to know that they're going to be tough, and you got to figure out, how do we get through these as a team and not let it split us apart.
Yeah, totally. I remember one time after I got divorced, kind of before Adam and I got married, but I was seeing this therapist, and she was so great. And she said, trying to think of exactly, but she said something along the lines of, you just have to, you have to understand that what you're looking for is an equal. And she said, what I mean by that is you don't have to equal make the same amount of money, or equal have like but she said, but you have to have equality, meaning that if something were to happen, you would trust them as an equal to be able to like, what's the word she said? Like, not respect, but you just know that they could do it. Like you have the trust in them that there's like an equal, I guess respect is the right word. And the way that she described it, it just made total sense to me, because she said sometimes, you may be up and he may be down, or he may be up and you may be down. But when you have that kind of equal mentality, you know that you've both got each other's backs, and one of you is going to figure it out. If if one of you is in a down spot, you're equal enough that incompetency, she said, that's what it was, so that the other one you trust to figure it out.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's the same thing when you're putting either a team around you or hiring somebody. You have to ask, would I want to go to battle with somebody like this? Would I want them to be on the front line with them? Will they pull their weight? Or because I think sometimes the part of being in some kind of crisis is it feels lonely.
Yeah.
And it's the lonely. And honestly, that's the way I felt when Jimmy was drinking. I felt like I was married but alone.
Yeah, everyone.
So I think that's where people get in trouble, is when they feel like they're alone, right? I mean, I think we can get through any kind of hard thing as long as we feel like we got somebody else there with us that's got our back and gonna, battle it out together.
Yeah, totally.
So, the other thing I wrote down was, I think it helps if you can have common goals. You know what I mean? If you can, even if, because I hear this a lot, you probably hear this a lot too. How do I get my husband on board on doing this?
Oh, yeah.
And I think what you have to do is, I think, your level of risk could be different, but if you're on the same page about where you're going, and one person isn't like wildly risking everything.
Yeah.
It said to me something years ago, I think Jimmy had done like another restaurant, and he said, why don't you have a certain amount of money that if Jimmy has a piece of him that likes to go risk in the restaurant business, that he goes and plays with that. And then because I think what would happen in the case where if he was out doing that, my fear would be, you're going to lose all of our money, right? But if I knew, so we used that when we had a group of painters that came in that we were coaching, and they all said to us, I love what you're saying here, but most of them had wives that are risk adverse. And I said, well, you got to, number one, both be clear on why it's important. And they probably never sat down and thought about, how would it be if we ran out of money when we're 60, 70, 80 years old?
Yeah.
And I said, so get them to buy into the goal, and then get them to agree, like, what is a certain amount that you feel comfortable that we risk? Or what's a certain amount that you feel like we have to have in the bank before we can risk on buying investment properties or doing whatever? Yeah. So I think you can come to terms even if you're not equally the same. I was saying to Jimmy the other day, because I thought we were just talking about the Sprinter van, but apparently we had decided. So
You said he went and got it.
he came home with the Sprinter van, and we're both real quick starts. And so I said, somebody's got to get us under control because we're remodeling a house in Montana that every time I turn around, it's gone up. And we're just laughing because we're not good people to do that for each other. We need somebody else
To do
because
it.
we're both like, yeah, let's just do that. Yeah, let's do that. That sounds like
Mhm.
a great idea. So I think, sometimes you can be too much alike and get yourself in
Mhm.
trouble and, not be kind of the yin to the other person's yang.
Yeah.
All right. So the other thing I put is I've learned over the years, and mostly from my first marriage, is it really does help to be equally yoked. Because if your faith isn't aligned, um, then I think you're going to have a lot more issues because either one of you is trying to please and live a Christ-like marriage and the other one isn't. So I think to me, if I had it to do over again, which I never am, but if I had to do over again, faith would be a super high value because it just doesn't work if one doesn't have the same guidelines and things that they're following.
Yeah, I was just it's been so cool to watch Adam grow in his faith over the last couple of years, and just it's just cool. I don't know. It's just I'm so like grateful for it, and it's just been really cool to watch. In fact, this morning he texted me, and our church is doing an Israel trip, and I went to church here. I'm in Kentucky, and he's there, and it's actually our main pastors that are leading it, and a bunch of our friends are going in October. And he's like, I think we really need to do this. I know the flight is going to scare you, but let's just go. We it's like just an unreal one, and we've always had FOMO since we missed the one with John and y'all. Um,
Yeah.
but as soon as we like when after the text, I don't know, I just kind of sat in my car and I was like, man, I'm just so grateful that he wants to do that,
Yeah.
that because when you are on the same page in your spiritual walk, it just is, I don't know, it's just a totally different feeling.
And if you haven't, if you can find the Song of Solomon, a
Yeah.
pastor that teaches that, because my saying of if once I know something, I can't pretend I don't know it. I think that was a turning point for me. Also, was to really understand the Song of Solomon and the way God intended for marriage to be. And I think I told you. I think one day I might have sent it to you. There was a short on YouTube that there was this girl talking, and she was saying, I read a verse in the Bible the other day, and it said that a man would rather live on a desert than with a nagging wife. And I'm just wondering, Lord, is it matter which desert? you know,
Yes.
and, I just think when you're yearning to try to be better, you'll catch yourself. Like I'll
Yeah.
catch myself going, how would I feel if he was treating me this way that I'm just
Yeah.
treating him? It'll be a quick thought in my mind that used to never would have come. I would have just stayed on it and not given up.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, Linda, does it even matter? And how would you feel if he was nagging you about something? Right. So I think
Totally.
you somehow got to get that conscience that kind of helps. I still haven't gotten the one about, um, not telling him how to drive. I'm really working on that one.
Me too.
But I think that's the main thing is you gotta be able to say, "Okay, it's all about me." It really is never about them, and I hate it every time a therapist would tell me that, and they all tell you the same thing.
Yeah.
But the only person I can fix is me, so I can just try to catch, how would I feel if he was, keeping score on this, or he was, saying this to me, or he was nagging me about that. So I think just mainly, and I think that's where the Bible helps,
Yeah.
and having a good pastor that'll talk to the man and talk to the woman, you
Mhm.
know, uh, and in service. So you can got to go, okay, I get it. I see where I'm off the rails a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if you had this in your notes, but has there ever been, or will you just talk a little bit about parenting? Like, are you always on the same page? Have you ever been not on the same page? How do you get back on the same page? Like,
Oh Lord,
because
yes.
we've been, and now that the kids are teenagers, which is insane to even think Amelia's going to be driving next month. I'm like, how did this even happen? But it's funny because every night in the hot tub, I feel like almost Adam and I are talking about parenting. I mean, it's like,
Yes.
I mean, the kids are the best kids ever. And it's just a weird age. You're like, wow, this happened quick.
Well, I wish I could tell you it goes away when they're grown, but it might not.
Yeah.
And it's funny because we've had some moments, and one of the best things I ever did was have 2 or 3 people that if we couldn't agree on, I would say it was so funny because if it was business, I'd say, "Well, let's just ask Gary Keller and whatever he says, we'll do." You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And usually the conversation stops right after that.
The
Or
adult here, adult.
yeah, or I'll say, "Well, let's ask our pastor and whatever he says." And I remember when one of our kids was getting out of school and they wanted to go to this other program, and I just didn't feel like the program was worth it. It was worth the time. There was nothing they were going to be able to do afterwards. I feel like it was a kind of an aversion to life,
Yeah.
And so I wanted to say no, and he wanted to say yes.
Yeah.
So we got Dr. Fred Gross, which is a business
Yeah.
psychotherapist, on the phone. And he said one of the best things in the world he could say, Jimmy and I are from the generation when we grew up, we had it pretty hard.
Mm-hmm.
And so we tried to make it easier on our kids.
Yeah.
And some kids come through that okay, and some struggle because of
Yeah.
that, to be honest with you. So we got him on the phone, and he said, what I need y'all to understand is that money's like a drug.
Mm.
If you're going to shell it out to kids beyond a certain age, you better keep shelling it.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Because it's like a drug. He said, so my son always knew at 18, everything stopped. All the money, all the things. And so it's not like it was a surprise to him. Honestly, I think some of our biggest fights, honestly, have been about that.
Parenting?
Because,
wow.
It's gotten better. Now we seem to be a little bit more on the same page.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have pretty far views on some of it, or at least over the years we have. It's gotten a lot better.
Yeah.
I told Ashley Lund one day when I was speaking to her market center, she goes, "Oh, I can't remember what she said, but it was something to the effect of, you and Jimmy must never fight." I said, "Are you kidding me? I just threw a water bottle at him, and I have the most beautiful glass doors in my office, and I'm so glad I didn't break them." Literally. And it was over a grown child, a decision that, and so sometimes I think the less control you have as a parent, the more pressure it puts on you because your decisions now really, really matter. So I would say that's why, honestly, getting clear about those things in advance too, or having a godly couple that can, and nowadays it's hard because they're on their phones all the time. Their shorts are super short. I mean, there's so many more challenges now, I think, with parenting, especially like teenagers and stuff.
Yeah.
And I watch Press and Anna, and man, it's a full-time job with them. They control, that the girls can't watch, hardly any TV and definitely the YouTube. And so, and I know that's not easy, but Anna and Press are just adamant about it because, so much of these kids these days are dictated by what they see on YouTube or whatever.
Oh, it's
And
crazy.
it makes your parenting job, to me, a lot harder.
Yeah.
Well,
I
ours
was talking to somebody yesterday about, it's crazy because when, if we used to go to sleepovers with our friends or birthday parties or whatever, like you didn't know who was going to be there until you showed up. And then you didn't know if anybody wasn't there or if you weren't invited or whatever. But now, these kids on Snapchat, they know where everyone's location is on. So you see where everybody is all the time, 24/7. So it's like, if everybody's together, but you're not there, you're like, well, why, it's just, that combined with, YouTube and what pops up and what they see, I'll never forget. Amelia saw the Charlie Kirk shooting before I did. And I was on a Zoom and she came in, opened the door to the office, and I could like see on her face, I'm like, what's wrong? And she just was like holding up her phone. And I'm like, I was on a Zoom. I was just like, hold on, you guys, 1 second. I have to like turn my camera off. And she was just scrolling and she saw it before, I didn't even know what had happened. But so, it's just like things that that we never used to have to think about, that now as parents, you do have to think about. It's just different.
Yeah. It's harder. And honestly, those are places of contention. But if you can, I always say, really what you really need to do now is make those decisions way in advance before you get to those things. But some of them are just so much newer than what we had to deal with as parents. And I'm just thankful I got through most of mine with that. But now it's my grandkids, I have to think about them because I may not necessarily agree with how one of my kids is doing it, but I don't really it's not my control. Right.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot that you have to think about. But yeah, I would say parenting, even now with some of our adult children, we've had, we have to really think through what is our decision to certain things.
Yeah. I
And it's
just
like watching train wrecks sometimes because you don't have any control and you can see that that decision might not end well.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
then you're brought in. They never want your advice before it, but then you're brought in.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, now what do I do? Right
Yeah.
now now I've got to
So
make a
true.
decision.
I
Yeah.
always hear so many people say that when your kids know that you love each other, like your relationship with God's first, then your relationship with each other is second, and then your relationship with the kids, like that's such a well modeled out thing. And I do feel like you and Jimmy have done that very well. Like you all are always kind of, you grow together, you travel together, you learn together, you do business. I mean, I feel like you did a good job of showing that to your kids. Like, hey, it's us. Like
Yeah.
we're together.
Yeah, there's places we could have been better maybe on, how we would probably make certain decisions, and things like that, maybe a little bit better, but yeah, absolutely. And which is one of the points that I put down is I see so many people that once their kids grow up, they have nothing in common.
Yeah.
And that's to me is kind of sad. It's like one of them probably kept growing and the other one didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think continually growing, no matter whether if you're doing different things or whatever, and doing something always together so that you have something when the kids go away. And then I said on the flip side of that, you need time apart. You
Yeah,
need friends
totally.
and things. Jimmy goes on his fishing trips. I do things with girls and
Yeah.
people that I want to hang out with. And I think that stuff's important because I think time away helps a little bit.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah. Man, so many good ones. What did you have anything else? Any other parting words
Uh,
of wisdom?
yeah, I would say, I think because I've been watching this other marriage, I've been thinking, there's certain things we take for granted, but your 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 person should make you be the best version of you. And if they're not doing that and none of that is happening, there's something wrong, right? I mean, the one thing I know for sure, he might think I'm crazy sometimes, all the things I do or want to do, but he's never one he knows never hold me back. And he's just not that way anyway. And then the other is he's my biggest cheerleader. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly,
Yeah.
sometimes he'll have to say, "Hey, you really do great at this," because I won't even see it or something.
Totally.
But I think that is super important, that you've got somebody in your corner that's your biggest cheerleader. Because sometimes when you're trying things, you're not sure if they're going to work or not, but you need somebody that believes in you,
Mm-hmm.
besides yourself. So I think that's important. And I've really noticed in this one particular thing, it's like, number one, I don't see that at all. I don't see them making each other better.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm way better since I've been with Jimmy than I ever was before.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's because you give space for growth, and it's because you, you have the same values, and you work towards being better on yourself and growing yourself. And then the rest of it really does take care of itself
Yeah.
if you can do that.
Well, and I think too, it's exactly what you said towards the beginning of the podcast. You want to work at making the marriage work and making it the best. I mean, you want, like, that's something I've noticed really over the last year with Adam and I. I mean, we want to have the best marriage, and so we really try to do the things that we need to do and learn the things that we need, and prioritize date nights and prioritize, because if you don't, just everything else fills the calendar, fills the time, and you're like, holy cow, this whole year just went by, or whatever. But we want it to be great, and we want to be examples to the kids and to our friends and to other people. And so I think when you have that mindset, then you do whatever it takes to do those things, to make it the best.
Well, and I think I'll always love Mo's hummingbird story where she talks about a hummingbird and a vulture. The vulture finds dead things all on the road, and the hummingbird finds all the sweet nectar.
Yeah.
You find what you're looking for in a person, right?
Totally.
So I could either focus on things that irritate me or do whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and let that be bigger, or I could say, you know what, I'm sure I got plenty that irritates him too. So there, so I think you get what you look for. And if you look for the good qualities and the good in it, then that's what you'll find.
I'm laughing because I came to Kentucky, this weekend, because I'm here this week in Austin and coming back. And Adam was at a tennis tournament with Addison when I left, but then he got back home and I was already here. And I don't know. He called me when he got home and he said, "The house looks great. You left it clean." I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, there was like one load of laundry I didn't get left in. And then he's like, where he's on FaceTime, so he's walking through the house, And then he goes to the back door and he's like, oh, I can see you didn't take any of the trash out though. And I'm like, I don't walk to the trash can. Like everything else is good, but I don't take trash out. I set it at the door.
And that's not a new thing because I heard you say that before. Is
Oh
he
yeah,
shocked?
no, I do not like to watch because there in the past there have been raccoons, and so I don't like to go to the trash can. So
Yeah.
I always set all the trash at the door, then Adam goes to the trash can. But whatever you just said made me think about that. It is funny because there's tons of things you could pick apart, that you don't like or that I do that drive him nuts or vice versa. But I don't know, I choose to think, okay, well, he's like, well, you did all the other stuff and it was great. So if I have to walk the trash out, okay. Or if he does it's really what you look for.
Yeah, I think not keeping score is a big thing. I think if
Yes.
you keep score, you're never going to win. And I think another thing is control. When
Mhm.
someone tries to do something, I even said to Jimmy, like, I'm like, you're trying to control. I don't like control. And it was just something simple. But I said, you're trying to control everything. Just let it go. Remember how you said the other day, be in your lane? And this was something silly. And at first I thought, oh gosh, I hope it's not, he's getting amplified and that's how he's going to be in his old age. But it was just something, I don't know what it was, but it was like, Jimmy, that's not even a big deal. Don't, but you can, when we all get like that, where
Yeah.
all of a sudden I'm trying to control everything. It's like, that's maddening for you and it's not fun for anybody else. So, I mean, you just got to point it out, which Jimmy, I was so shocked because that's so not him, but it was some little things. I'm like, what are you doing? You're trying to control everything. That's nuts. Don't do that. Let's don't do that. But I have to catch myself too, because I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, does that really matter? I think the best thing that happens as your marriage matures is you stop majoring in minors.
That's good.
Just let go of all the things that are not that. Is that really that big a deal?
Yeah.
And if something's bothering me, what is it saying about me?
Yeah.
What do I need to do differently? Because the only reason it's bothering me is there's something about myself that this brings up for me or whatever. And so I
Yeah.
think it's as much as you can do that. You're never going to do it 100%. But I think just asking yourself, what is it about that rubs me the wrong way? What is it really? And is it that big a deal? Honestly, no. At the end of the day, it never is. It's never
Yeah.
a big deal.
So true, man. That's so true.
Yeah.
So
Used to, I'd take something, and if I got mad about it, some even stupid thing, I'd stay mad for the longest time. Now, honestly, within about 5 seconds, we're both laughing about whatever it is,
yeah.
and it's like that. I think that's what changes. Whereas before, you might not speak for a day or whatever, your half a day or whatever thing
Yep.
is. It's like now we're like giggling in 10 minutes thinking, that is so dumb. What are we? And then you don't remember anything that you were fighting about. So I think that's the best part of it
Yeah.
maturing is all that stuff. You realize so many things that used to get us in fights or me stay mad about or whatever means nothing.
hmm
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah. It's just good perspective on, I think too, when you see people who's, have a sick spouse or a spouse that they lose too early or whatever. I mean, it just puts it in really good perspective to be like, okay, we have today. We're not promised tomorrow and yesterday's the past. So we have today. I mean, I think about that a lot.
Yeah. Well, and I think this would apply whether you're friends or you have friends or you have friends you're trying to control or friends you're trying to, be mad about because they don't. I mean, you got to let all that stuff go. The friendship has to sustain itself.
Yeah.
And so does the marriage without, all the million little things that we pick apart when we're young, newly married.
Yep. Yeah, I totally agree. Yep. Totally agree. Man, so much good stuff. Any last thoughts on it?
Um, let's see. No, honestly, I would just say if you haven't picked yet, there's the best place. There's the fork in the road that you have an opportunity to really be honest. And I think you can't be too unrealistic because we're all humans, right? But I think if they've got the core key, and that's the same thing with your marriage. If they've got the core key values, everything else can be worked out.
Yeah.
Everything else can be worked out. And think about it. If you guys can get on the same page and work together, how powerful that could be. If two of you are working towards the same common goals, that's pretty powerful. But I would say the main thing is work on yourself.
Yeah.
How you can grow. Read if you struggle, read. Even if they're not willing to do it, read how do you become a better mate? What are the things, and fix those things first and just have faith. that if you fixed most of those, unless it's like major things, I mean, I'm sure abuse and,
Right.
alcoholism, those have to be dealt with by lots and lots of prayer and all the other things. But mainly most anything else, if you'll just stay in your lane and work on your part,
Yeah.
I think they'll come around, honestly.
Yeah. So good. So true.
All
Well, I
right.
told you this morning, but you and Jimmy have been such a great example of marriage to Adam and I. So I'm so grateful to get to learn from y'all and be around y'all. And I think many people would say that. So it's awesome to be a part of it.
Well, that's a good point. Everybody should have, and I think this all the time too. I am thankful for many godly couples that I got to observe from afar and see how they handled things and their marriages. And so if you've got some people around you who have done a really good job in marriage, hang out with those people, ask them questions, get them on your radar, because they'll give you great examples of how to handle certain situations and how to treat each other. So
so
awesome.
Good. Awesome.
And I'll see you this week, Dana, I guess in Austin.
That's right.
All right. If you have not hit the subscribe button, please go ahead and do that now. And the greatest compliment you can pay Dana and I is to, number one, pass this podcast along to anybody that you think would enjoy these conversations. If you have a challenge, a question, a topic, or a guest that you'd like to see on the podcast, be sure and reach out to us at info@everything life and real estate. Dana, I'll see you next week.
Sounds good. See you then.
Be sure to subscribe for more business strategies and tactics to inspire you to live an abundant real estate life. Don't forget to rate and review so we can bring you the best content. Find this and other valuable information at everythinglifeandrealestate.com.